This feels damn cool though.
What?
I feel like I'm on some reality show or something. I'd written like what? I think 3 of these songs in 2017 actually. Fish in the Sink was still going on. We were writing our own songs. So these songs I wrote, showed it to the boys. They really liked it. So I said, come, we can use it for Fish in the Sink if you guys really like it. So we made like, some of them we made like a few new arrangements for Fish in the Sink. Then I went to Goa because I wanted to like just have a different experience. That time we kind of disbanded. So these songs were just there. So when I moved back from Goa, I felt like, I don't know, I kind of gave up on music, to be honest. I was just like, I gave it everything for 4 or 5 years. That's all I did know. I used to just sit and practice. Then I was like, you know what, let me just take these songs, since I've anyway written them, put them out on SoundCloud as just like a kind of, I tried, and this will always be there to show. So then I spoke to the boys, since we weren't a band anymore. I said, is it okay if I release these as a part of a concept album? And they were like, yeah man, do whatever. These are your songs, you do what you want to do. So then I came back I moved back in Feb of 2019?
Am I right?
And then I wrote the whole album. Like it took me like maybe 2-3 months. Just lock myself in my room, take after take after take to get like everything as perfect as possible, and then
You look around and all that you see, familiar faces in their own dreams.
The first 3, one of them Riju had written the lyrics for, and he just told me, this was before I had written a song on my own and all. So he just gave me the lyrics and said, I want a song by tomorrow. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I've never really written a song before. Then I said, okay, I didn't have a job, anything at the time, so I had a lot of time. Put something together, played some guitar parts, some programmed drums, bass and everything. And I showed it to him the next day, and he was like, what the fuck, this is amazing, how did you come up with this? So that kind of gave me the confidence to try and write more songs of my own. And in that span of like 2 weeks, I ended up just writing 3 of these songs. Coming back to when I decided that it's going to be an album, that was primarily after an acid trip. My first acid trip where I did it alone. And I listened to The Dark Side of the Moon. Like, as cliched as that sounds, it blew my mind. Like how well stitched together that album is. There are so many, like Breathe. There's a callback to Breathe in the End of Time, which I've heard so many times, but honestly it was just like, holy shit, this is crazy. And that's when I got the idea of, okay, since I'd written these 3 songs at a point in time where I was kind of thinking about a certain subject, it was just about filling in the blanks. Like, okay, this talks about this particular feeling, this talks about this feeling, but what made me feel this way in the first place? So then the intro track came in, and then like, okay, what did this feeling lead me to? And then it just kind of fell in place quite easily, actually. It wasn't like something that was very conscious or was like, okay, I have to make something that sounds like this. Just went to the flow and it kind of fell in place. When I'm writing guitar parts, I always think of how Suji would write them in my head. And that's what gave me a certain kind of sound. And same with vocal melodies, it was always so used to writing melodies with Riju's voice in my head, so that also kind of took that shape and form of how it would sound if Riju sang it, and then I recorded my own voice. As much as, Avial, Porcupine Tree, all of these bands are like such a huge influence, these two are guys that influence who I am as a musician the most. Like Suji, when I first met Suji, I didn't know anything. Like I never even imagined that I'd be in a band or be writing my own music, right? So spending all that time with Suji, when we're jamming, he would be like, Macha, let's take it from the 7/8 part. I didn't even know what 7/8 was, what time signature was, nothing. So I would wait for all these guys to start playing. So then I'll be like, okay, this is that part that he's talking about, and I'll start playing. Same when Riju joined the band also, he came up to me after one of our first few jams together, and he said, man, you're one of the best bassists I ever played with. And at that point, it was super validating because this guy is a monstrous vocalist even back then. So you kind of like, you're in awe, and then that guy comes and says, what the hell, Macha, you sound good. Then you also start thinking, right? He said, why don't you just reach out to somebody else?
Right.
And that kind of set off on chain of events, because then two singers that I really, really liked in the Chennai scene was David Simon, who used to play for this band called Blind Image. He used to sing insane, like school VG, my senior from school, he used to sneak me into these concerts because he used to play the guitar on that band. And I was not 18 at the time, so he used to like get me in because he's a part of the band, and I used to just stand there and be like, holy shit, somebody I know is on stage, and So yeah. Then the other band called Kodari in Chennai, which I loved. That singer's name is Ram. So I reached out to these guys. I didn't think they'd respond honestly, but they did, and then I met them, they came home, recorded some demos. And then I was like, okay, wait a minute. These guys responded. Why don't I just reach out to all the musicians that I've been following on Instagram that I think are like insane, like world-class musicians. And yeah, first person I reached out to that I thought would not respond or would be like the perfect sound, like bring the perfect sound for this album. The sound I had in mind was Suyash. Fucking shout out to my boy. But he responded. He actually responded and he said, sure man, I'd love to check it out. So I had like these random demos with like GarageBand drummer and my voice. And I was like, okay man, what is he going to think about it? I just said, fuck it, stitched it together and sent it to him on email. He actually loved it. And then I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, okay, then I had to, obviously session artists, you have to pay them. And then I was like, oh fuck, I need a job. Otherwise I can't afford to, even do this album in a way that I think I can do it. So, in a nutshell, yeah, like after Suyash said yes, and I sent him the demos, gave me like so much confidence, and I started reaching out to all the people that I thought would be perfect for the sound I had in mind, and yeah. Yeah, crazy da. Wow. Amrabat. Fuck off.
Smithra was good.
Yeah. He's eyed, if you ask me. Oh, what a fucking pass.
I suddenly lost.
You better put that on.
Thoughts start running through your mind. The calmness slips away.
for me, it ended up being a blessing, right? Because all these people that I've idolized and looked up to for so many years were literally just one click away, and I could reach out to them and share with them what my idea was and actually have them respond. Like that wasn't there before. Like you can't just access a musician and all, or anybody for that matter. So and hope that they see it somehow, right? Yeah.
Home now, look at good screen.
Yeah.
So it does.
Holy shit! That is fucking mad.
Trying to run away, but it's getting harder, and you're getting older. Not much waste.
So for me, the whole idea behind the artwork was mainly that I personally feel like the only way forward for humanity is to kind of go backward to like more like a primate state, which is why it's called retrograde, which is like regressing. Because I feel like, yeah, we won't have the conveniences, but we also might not have the kind of consciousness that we have now, which leads to this existential crisis or like the need to find a purpose in life or compare. It's like most of my time that I'm awake goes into my job, and music has become like more of a passion thing now, which is ironic because it's like I'm literally living the life that I shat on in my album, and it's
But it's enabled you to make that.
which is so ironic, right? Like, but it's fine though, because for me that satisfaction of doing this job and funding this album myself without any support and doing everything myself. Without any support, I mean like financial support.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That is a different level of satisfaction, but it's just a little. Sometimes I wonder, because when I decided to quit trying to pursue music is when everything happened, and by the time I already had a job and I needed that job to be able to pay for all of this. So I just can't help but think sometimes that at that point, if I just continue to stick to music and put more time into that, would I have been able to do it full time? But I guess that's just something you'll never know. So, but I do think about it sometimes. I think I reached out to people very specifically in terms of what sound I had in mind, not just to put some names on the album. So I think when I did share it with them, I guess they could see why I approached them and not somebody else. Like if I can do it, why anybody can do it. And I'm sure there are so many insane musicians who have like amazing demos and stuff just lying around because they feel like it's not going to go anywhere or anything like that. Even if one person hears this story and is like, you know what, I'm going to fucking send that message that I've been wanting to send for so long. And I think it's a win for sure.
And there goes the final whistle. Manchester United are the winners today anyway. What did you think of their performance also?
And in terms of the passion or like the fact that, I spent so much time doing it, I think a large part of the credit goes to my folks also, because that's mental, da.
You're saying your phone?
Yeah, like I think they've seen me. I was a horrible student. I would always get into trouble in school. I could not study for the fuck of me. Like I just could not buy hard things. I have like a very bad memory. Like I couldn't pay attention in class. So for them also to see, I think when I joined Fish in the Sink, and then I kind of became obsessed with it, in the sense they could finally see me doing something with so much focus and concentration and doing it all the time. And I don't know, just let me do it, They weren't like everybody around me, all my friends had jobs and they were doing really well, and like I was just sitting at home, parents were still supporting me and just practicing and practicing and practicing, and they gave me that space to do that.
Somewhere you save yourself.
If I'm putting out music at least. It's something that that really means a lot to me. Not for anything else, but it's always been there for me throughout my life. It's always intrigued me. It's always made me feel so many things. And for me, giving back to music in whatever way I can, and the hope that somebody listens to my music and feels how I feel when I listen to a lot of bands that I love, that is like something else. Like once it's out on Apple Music, Spotify, etc., like the people I wouldn't, not competing with, but you're on the same stage as like all the best bands to have ever lived, from Pink Floyds to the Led Zepps to like literally any band you can think of. You're on the same platform as them, and for me it's like I can't compromise. Like I don't want it to be like, oh, it's just a nice album considering that it's come from India or something like that, or like a first time. Like for me, once this whole thing started taking shape, it is like I need this to be world class. For me, Avial has been like one of the biggest influences on me as a person, as a musician. And every time I sat down to write also, it would be like, that album would be like a benchmark for me personally of what production is and what insane intricacies are there in that album. So eventually when I did reach out to Rexeta and showed him this album, and he actually liked it and he said he would come on board, that was like one of the most insane days of my life, honestly. For me, who better than the man who made like one of my favorite albums of all time to mix my album and add his touch to it. That's like proper bucket list stuff, right? And another amazing thing was when Uday came on board for Qualms of the Sheep. He was playing a show in Bangalore. This was when I lived in Bangalore the first time. He was playing a show here, and I asked him, I said, would it be possible to sit down with you and just have a coffee or something? And he just said, yeah, come down, let's have it. And I sat with him and I asked him, like I'd known that the sound engineer who'd worked for In Absentia, which is one of my favorite albums, and Pearl Jam's albums, and had worked on Induscreed's album. So I asked him, I said, it's insane that you got to work with him and the sound is so international. How did this happen and how did you? He said he just emailed him. This is Tim Palmer that we're talking about. And the way he described the whole experience of working with him, after a while I was like, okay, you know what, I've been reaching out to people, it's been going my way, let's just write a mail. And I chumma emailed him, and he wrote back and he said, I love it, let's do it, we can maybe do a radio edit single. And then for me to think that my song has echoed around the walls of that studio where some of the greatest artists in the world like have been mixed was like, I can't even explain how that felt at the time. It's crazy. At one point I was in disbelief, like I would hope that it's not some dream where I wake up and all this shit is just, imaginary. But over the course of the last year and a half, I realized that that there is something in my work. It's not like they were doing me a favor or something like that. I'm sure they have enough number of people reaching out to them on a daily basis to collaborate and work with them, but it is the work to a large extent, like at the end of the day, I do deserve it. That's like, initially I felt like it was all luck and it's just a complete fluke. I just happened to reach out to them at the correct time where they, saw it and stuff like that. The proper imposter syndrome kind of thing. Songwriting was something that came very easily to me. Like I would just sit down and by the end of the day I would have a song. Yeah, the entire structure, the chord progressions and all the parts would be ready. And then for me, like I said, because of my attention span and all of that, when I sit down to do it, I have to finish it, which is good because you're not caught in perfecting one section before you go on to the next. Like the entire idea is fleshed out first, and then you sit and fine tune it. You see how it can be better. So that's when I realized that I felt like I had a knack for composing more than being like an insane instrumentalist. And I realized that there are so many amazing instrumentalists that can possibly do things that I can't even dream of doing. But if I write good enough music, I can reach out to those people and ask them to play. And that's where I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to write really good music and have the opportunity to have the best musicians in the world play on my stuff. I've seen the struggles as an unknown artist, how difficult it is. Like I've reached out to so many PR agencies, asking them like, how do I go about the release of this album? Like, what do I do? I need help, and I can put together a budget. Like I have enough friends and stuff that I can even borrow money from and pay them back slowly and figure it out. And nobody has been supportive in that front. The marketing side of it is super important. I think the way I'm doing it so far, people have told me that it is very old school because I do come from, the cassette and the CD era did coincide with us growing up, fortunately or unfortunately. And like for me, it is always a whole experience of like when in the cassette you take out that little booklet, or on the CD, like I remember the Linkin Park Hybrid Theory Reanimation album had like this insane artwork in the CD sleeve. And like that's how I like it. Like when I wrote this album, I wanted to kind of make an entire universe around it, not just put out a single and then like a bunch of songs and put it out and keep churning it out and keep making music. Like for me, it is making a complete universe for that album. So with the artwork, each song has its own artwork, each artist has their own artwork. The artwork sets the tone for the entire song. It is open to interpretation to a large extent, but at the same time there's a set of colors that we used, which we use for a specific reason because it kind of so for me, yeah, exactly. So for me, the artwork, the lyrics and the music have to work together as one entity, at the same time as separate entities. Like I want the artwork to say the same thing that the music is saying. I want the instruments to say the same thing that the words are saying, and vice versa. Like I want all of it to be one huge package. But coming back to the marketing part, I still don't know what the right way to do it is, especially for this kind of music. So with the help of my friends, trying to do the best that I can. Like Venki is someone I met, I think, Jun's graduation. So I told him, Macha, in the Mari, I'm doing an album and I want only you to do the artwork, but no pressure. Like I would love it. And this guy being so busy, he's working with Steven Wilson on a regular basis. He has a job, all of that. He still took the time out to do individual artwork for every single song, the album art, the artist reveal art, all of that, just because he believed in my work and the relationship that we share. So, yeah, my job is to make it in a way that I think I wanted to make it in the truest form that I could, in the best ability that I could, given all the constraints and all of that. But how it's going to be consumed, I really have no control over. Like, ideally, I would not want it to be stripped down to like 2 good songs and then that gets pushed into a playlist or something like that. But if that's what is going to happen, then yeah, that's it. Like, what can I do about it? In the span of 6 years, to go from somebody who does not know what a time signature is, cannot differentiate the sound between the drum, the different components of a drum kit, or listen to different chord changes, to like being able to write an entire album, conceptualize an entire album, and have the people who taught me everything I know about music work with me, and all these insane artists work with me.
I don't know what else I can ask for, honestly. Like, 6 years might be a long time for some, but for me, the kind of growth I saw in those 6 years on a personal level, not just in terms of music, because I think even in terms of like moving out of home for the first time, like the various relationships that I spoke to you about, the ups and downs, personal problems, personal victories, all of that again contribute in some way or the other to the kind of output that you bring into your music as well. So for me, like you said, the biggest victory is seeing my growth. And the fact that I finished writing this album in 2019 and it's 2024 almost, and I still listen to it and I know that I wouldn't change a thing about it, is amazing. Like, I listen to it almost every day. Not almost, every day I listen to my own album from top to bottom, every single day. As a consumer, finally. Without criticizing it, without being like, oh, that could be better. Oh shit, this could have been better. With my own work. And yeah, that's enough for me. Because I am my target audience, so yeah.